What's going on, Giants fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. In this video, I want to recap the Sunday Night Football defeat to the Buffalo Bills, a game that was heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, you name it. But first, before I dive into that game and break it down, please remember to check us out on all of our social media if you're new or a recurring guest and just haven't done it yet on our social media below at Big Blue Avenue. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Big Blue Ave. Appreciate all of your support. Obviously, it's been a tough season for the New York Giants, but I want to talk about Week 6 and what went well, what didn't. Exceeded expectations on Sunday Night Football, 15.5-point underdogs, and the Giants led majority of this game, believe it or not. They wound up losing 14-9, and it was not good enough. Obviously, Tyrod Taylor started at quarterback. This was a homecoming for a lot of Giants players and coaching staff members, specifically Brian Daboll and Joe Shane. Now, it wasn't a great end of the first half. We saw what happened with the Tyrod Taylor play in the end zone there. They audibled. They ran the ball to Saquon Barkley. Daboll gives him an earful on national TV as they're running into the locker room. Not a great scene, but the real reason why the Giants lost this game, red zone efficiency. They were 0 for 5 in the red zone as the Bills were 2 for 2, and that's part of the reason why the Giants have only scored 11.8 points per game this season through the first 6 weeks. That ranks dead last in the National Football League, not to mention they're second to last in passing yards per game. Their rushing defense is second to last as well. One area I will say that has improved for the Giants, and we saw it on Sunday night, was their passing defense. Wink Martindale not bringing the house like he usually does, and you know what? It's been a theme for the past few weeks now. If you really think about it, they held Geno Smith to 5.5 yards per attempt in Week 4. Week 5, they forced 3 Dolphins turnovers. Week 6, they forced 3 Bills turnovers. They shut out Josh Allen in the first half and only give up 14 points for the game. The Giants' defense has now allowed under 300 yards total in 2 of the last 3 games. They only blitzed Josh Allen on 7 of his 32 dropbacks, and they've won the turnover battle the last 2 weeks against the Bills and the Dolphins. The problem is the offense can't even look competent. If the Giants have just a competent-looking offense, like middle of the pack, slightly below average, they'd be winning football games. Similar to the way they were last year. The offense was below average, but the Giants still found a way to win football games. Tyrod Taylor wasn't bad at quarterback. He made some good reads. 24-36 for 200 passing yards. He was sacked 3 times. Obviously a former Bills quarterback that led them to the playoffs in 2017. He had 5 rushes for 24 yards. Next up, I want to talk about Saquon Barkley making his return in the backfield. He played in 59 of 73 offensive snaps, so about 79% of the snaps. Had 28 total touches for 98 yards, 93 rushing yards on the ground. He did break for a 34-yard run. Our guest on the show this past Thursday, Greg Tomset, mentioned how Barkley may break out for a big run against the Bills, and he did. Darius Slayton was more involved, which was great to see for him. 4 catches for 69 yards, including that 31-yarder. Was very impressed. But I will say what the Giants did throughout most of this game, it was Wan'Dale and Hyatt out there a lot. You know, a little bit of Slayton, a little bit of Hodgins, but no Shepard, no Campbell. They really have shortened the bench here for this wide receiver room, and it's very interesting to see these adjustments. And Wan'Dale had 8 catches for 62 yards. He's a volatile threat in the middle of the field. If this offense was slightly better, he would look really, really good. Darren Waller, 5 catches, and Jalen Hyatt had 3 catches. So excited to see him get slightly more involved. Giants 10 for 19 on third down. They did a good job converting, I will say, and they actually outgained the Bills by 20 yards. So that was good to see. I mentioned the red zone differential. That was one thing. The 0 for 5 compared to 2 for 2. But The penalties. Giants had 9 penalties. You can't go and win a game on the road when you commit 9 penalties. It's very uncommon. It was definitely a struggle. The offensive line still had its moments. We know Josh Azudu left with an injury with the toe. We saw going out there. Justin Pugh's intro off the couch, just off the couch. So Pugh started the game at left guard. And then when Azudu got hurt, he moved from left guard to left tackle. So the original starting lineup was Azudu, Pugh, Bredesen at center for JMS, Mark Lewinsky back at his natural right guard spot. So they benched McKeithen, and then Evan Neal at right tackle. So when that happened, they shifted Glowinski to left guard to play next to Pugh. Bredesen stayed at center. And then they put McKeithen in the game at right guard. So that's when it started to struggle. You started to see Pugh get exposed a little bit, still learning the playbook. I mean, he was literally sitting on a couch 2 weeks ago. I thought he held his own. I thought he did a decent job. I thought Mark Lewinsky played better, which is good to see. And, Ben Bredesen, he's not a center. He's a guard. So a little inconsistent there. McKeithen wasn't great. Evan Neal played better. I still won't say it was great, but he had some good plays in the game. Defensively for the Giants, Bobby Okereke continues to prove why he was an elite signing. And I think one takeaway from this game, which I'll discuss with Sam on the show this week, is the Giants finally have not just a legit linebacker, but legit linebackers in itself, in Bobby Okereke and Mike McFadden. McFadden's presence was definitely missed in week 5 against the Dolphins. He came back and had 7 tackles, a pass defended, a fumble recovery, and a pick. He was outstanding, an 87.9 PFF grade, second among Giants and 6th among linebackers. Who was first? It was Bobby O. 90.8 PFF grade, continues to make plays all over the field. Had the forced fumble that McFadden recovered, had the pass defended that McFadden picked off, and then had an interception of his own. So he was responsible for all 3 turnovers the Giants defense forced in this game and had 11 tackles, 2 for loss. That's how good of a player he is. Statistically and visually, you see him on the field. All right, you get him in ISO one-on-one, no problem. Being able to take down Josh Allen in open space on a QB delayed draw, not a problem. Going out in coverage and defending Dawson Knox, sure. Why not? I mean, this guy's really, really good. I'm excited that he's a Giant and Mike McFadden is learning from him, which is great to see. Another guy, Deonte Banks, inconsistent, had a couple penalties. There was some chippiness going on there in the game. He did not allow a catch, though, while he was guarding Stephon Diggs, which he did not do throughout the entire game. But he was targeted with Diggs matched up with him 3 times. He did not allow a catch, which was good. Josh Allen did have the 2 touchdown passes late in the game. But, again, not the best game for him. He did have the one. He did have the interception. So, again, the Giants were in a position where actually I think he had 2. For some reason on my script, he had 1. But, yeah, we didn't. James Cook was decent. He averaged a little over 4 yards per carry. The Giants' run defense continued to struggle, but Cook didn't break out for like an astronomical run. Stephon Diggs, 10 catches for 100 yards. He continues to do Stephon Diggs things, but they contained Gabe Davis, which was nice. 3 catches for 21 yards, and Okereke forced the fumble on him. And then defensively for the Bills, Barkley couldn't get too many running lanes, which, Terrell Bernard had a great game. Teron Johnson, Dorian Williams starting for them was solid. Epineza and Floyd both were threats off the corner. So just hearing this now, the second interception was not credited against Allen's record. So I'm interested to see what that's about. I guess Okereke was not credited with an interception. So, it was 2 turnovers for the New York Giants. Now, back to the game here. The Bills were giving the Giants every opportunity to come back and win this game. Tyler Bass hooked 2 field goals wide right. Clear pun intended right there, dating back to Super Bowl 25. But the Giants couldn't capitalize. That's the theme of this game. Field goals over touchdowns will not win you football games against good teams, and that's why the Bills continue to make the playoffs the last several years as they score touchdowns in the red zone. Now, little heat involved. A lot of people think there's a feud going on between Brian Daboll and Sean McDermott. I do think there is truth to this. You saw their handshake post-game. It was very short, little to almost no eye contact made. It was very, very brief. And then Daboll goes on to, confront Josh Allen. And yeah, that was pretty much the game. I'm happy Damian Harris is, moving and hopefully improves. That was definitely a scary scene on the field Sunday night. But for a Bills team that was missing a few key pieces on both sides of the ball, I thought they didn't look too great, but they were able to do enough to pull it out. Regardless of how you feel about that last play of the game on Darren Waller getting tugged, yes, they should have thrown the flag again, and the Giants should have gotten one more play on an untimed down, but Giants didn't do enough earlier to win the game. You can't allow the officials to dictate late. The Giants should have won that game earlier, and they had opportunities to do so. You can't leave it up to the refs. You can't leave it up to the final play of the game. That's my takeaway from this game. Now, what are the Giants doing? While they prepare for their next game against Washington, well, they're 1-5. The offensive line is still in shambles. Joe Schoen continues to make moves and basically put a fire under these guys on the roster's ass. Giants bring in 2 O-linemen this week, familiar face and Tyre. Phillips signed to the 53-man roster off the Philadelphia Eagles practice squad. Phillips started 5 games at tackle last year for the Giants when Evan Neal was out with an injury. He did not have the best camp. He was cut from the 50. He was cut on cutdown day, did not make the 53, and then did not make it through waivers. Now, Josh Miles is another guy who was pretty good for the Falcons in the preseason. He's played in 17 career games with the Cardinals. This provides more offensive tackle depth for the New York Giants. Miles made the Falcons' initial 53-man roster, but was later released and signed back to their practice squad. The reason why the Giants signed 2, the original thought was, well, maybe they're making room for Justin Pugh to elevate. Wrong. Well, Josh Ezeudu placed on IR with a toe injury. He'll miss the next 4 weeks at least. Second stint on IR in 2 years, likely a turf toe. Again, he missed the end of the 2022 season with a neck injury, kind of what Daniel Jones is dealing with right now. So now the Giants have a lot of offensive linemen on the 53-man roster. You got Andrew Thomas, who's still out, John Michael Schmitz, who's still out. You got those 2. Even with Ezeudu moving to IR, you don't count him, right? So there's Bredesen, Glowinski, Neal, McKeithen, Parrott, Lemieux, Pugh, who went back to the practice squad. I won't count him. And now there is Tyre, Phillips. So there's 9 guys right there. And then Ezeudu would be 10. Pugh would be 11. So with Ezeudu out now, there's realistically 10 guys who could play. But Pugh's back on the practice squad. I don't see 9 offensive linemen on this team better than him. I'm wondering if a move is made. I think Shane Lemieux would be the first likely casualty if the Giants are to move on from one of these players. Jalen Mayfield did get demoted back to the practice squad. So again, a lot of mixing and matching right now. They want to figure out what they can do, which units have the most success on the football field. And let's see if the Giants can win some football games moving forward. If you like what you watch, folks, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Instagram page, at Big Blue Avenue, and Twitter as well. Appreciate all of your support. And if you watch our shows, we partner with BetUS. You can sign up with our promo code below if you like the sports bet. Join 125, get a 125% sign-up bonus where you can bet on the go, anywhere, anytime. That's BetUS, America's #1 favorite sportsbook where the game begins. Go and place your bets on all the NFL Week 7 games that you wish this week with that promo code. Folks, appreciate all the support. We'll be back with our live show this week. And without further ado, let's go Big Blue.